Good afternoon and welcome to the FX Daily Roundup. We're taking a look here with the euro. We're actually trading in a relatively quiet market overall. Here we have seen the euro take a dip. Now we actually had our buy chart support for today at 1090. We didn't quite make it down there, but we've seen a relatively quiet day ahead of ECB day. Dollar CAD did go on and try and make a move back up, but so far unable to go on and achieve that. And after the shakeout in the cable via the Brexit, we did go on and we're kind of just sitting here right against this 29 even. Looking at the bias chart, bear with me. We've got resistance here at 29.50 here. So we're just kind of hanging around here. And market's trading overall relatively quiet. We did see the cash dollar index make a move up. This morning we had our bias chart resistance here at 97.65, and I believe that's where the market actually it stopped at 65 right there. So took a pause here. Let's see here. Take a look across the board on the cross rates. As I mentioned, everything's relatively quiet here in FX land. We can see here with the Kiwi yen pushing up a little bit higher after a dip. It looked like they might want to ease back a little bit, but taking a bit. I mean, we've kind of moved back up here. With the Kiwi strengthening here, the Aussie also, Aussie versus yen, same thing. So I guess the yen just a tad weaker, and we are seeing that across, like on the dollar yen, it's at 0866 at this moment. I think what bias chart resistance today was 865. We did see that news after the close with Texas Instruments and really pulled the dollar yen lower here. Everything is relatively quiet here across the board in FX land. We did see you can see here the guppy make another move up in here. We actually ran out of gas here at the bias chart resistance. Let's go and pull that here. Guppy here, 40.17, and that's where we actually just took a dip right now. So looks like we made it to 40.11, and we got a resistance at 40.17. Sterling odd relatively quiet. So overall, these markets are somewhat quiet. We're going to move into some other markets. We have seen a nice rebound here in crude oil. And we got above that 54.88, so which really turns this market to bullish. That we were able to get above that. Now we do have some resistance that we're coming in here on the crude at 55.32. So I did want to go and point that out. The numbers I had that I mentioned in the chat room as we were breaking above were 55, 55.12, 32, and then of course up here this big move here, which would be 55.59. But like I said, we did make a little move up here. I mean, we might ease back just a bit. I mean, the market's a bit stretched, especially off of these lows. We came down here. I thought we might make it down to about 53.48. 53.50 was the 61%. But one of the guys in the chat room, DX Trader, noted that 53.67 was a weekly pivot. I didn't know about that at the time. I wouldn't mind just chasing it at that point. I had a bid working at 48, but I have scalped around a little bit. I actually took a short here. Just to see if we can take a little bit of a drop here. So just a little bit of a short. Let's see, gold. Gold, one of the things I noted here, I mentioned in the room, is I just can't get a feel on this gold. About the time that it looks like it's going to go on and drop, let me see, about the time we look like we're going to go on and drop, we go on and, we rebound right back real quick with gold. But it's been, you can see it's just one like a steady run, not what a run I wouldn't call it, a steady move higher. And then all of a sudden we going in a steady move lower, maybe a little bit faster. And I was making the point this morning. I was like, no way, I don't want to touch this thing. If we come back to 14.95, I was making the example of what happened with the Canadian dollar last week when I was bid for 33.07, no, 30.07. And just want to point that out is that the market come down to 30.11, and we rallied like 20 pips off of that. So we come back down to, I'm still have that at 30.07, and we actually come down right to 07. I think what I saw was 30.06.8. But anyway, the point is I didn't get filled. So I think we rallied about 15 pips off that. So the next time come back down, oh, heck no, I didn't want that thing at that point. That was a third try. Well, like I said, sure enough, we went through that and got all the way down. At the time, I think it was 30, went down to 30.88. Let me see. Yeah, okay, so I was working at 31.07. So anyway, we fell pretty good after the third try. So that was my case here, is that this 14.95 on the spot is if we saw that, I go, oh, heck no, I don't want that. So that's where we stand right here. As I mentioned with crude oil, we saw big volume. So it looks like we're certainly going to potentially work higher. We did have some shorts. We pushed up a little bit higher. We didn't come off too much. And then the shorts came in and they were forced to cover a little bit. We pushed up a little bit higher. Nothing overboard. We'll see what happens if the market wants to continue to push a little bit higher. But we've exhausted a little bit of volume. We might see maybe a pair back. Maybe to about 55.12-ish maybe. But certainly this market looks like it wants to resolve itself to the upside. Bunds, they've rallied off of these lows here. Let me take a look here. And this actually worked against the euro as we came off this. Because remember, the bunds were the ones that we were leading this move. And bear with me. And we'll go back in to show the euro. So when we look here, this move in the euro, we talked about that. Let's move into the euro chart. This move, if you remember, what was it, a couple weeks back or whenever it was, we were trading at 980. I think it was like on a Thursday or Wednesday. And I said, hey, watch out with these bunds. We're thinking about these bunds are going to completely fall apart. And, if that's the case, we're going to rally up here and we'll finally be able to take out 1020. And the rest is history. We rallied. Well, now the bunds have kind of come off of that. So let's see what happens on here. With the bunds, but we've come off of those lows as we came into this value zone, and that's weighed on the euro. So I was thinking if the euro could have made one more move up here closer towards 11.90, that would have been an excellent place if someone was long to get out. And right now we're seeing this pressure, and obviously we're going to ECB day. Anyway. Also with the peso, I'm going to touch on this real quick. I've spent some time talking about this in the European crossover webinar. And there's nothing bullish about this thing whatsoever. People keep trying to buy it. And honestly, I really don't know. I've already gone over this several times, so I'm not going to spend any more time. I did spend some in-depth time this morning. Someone was asking about it during the webinar. But once we took out a 1944, and I haven't played it from the long side or the short side, so in some times I didn't have a bone to pick or anything else. But once it lost 1944, that was just basically that's it for the bulls. That was the last straw. So I thought we'd make it down 1923.6. I thought we'd see a bounce, but the bounce didn't even get beyond 1930. But I said if we got a daily close below 1923.6, that would open the door for 1908. Well, we did see 08 this morning. And we actually have seen sustained closes below that. Our overshoot target was 1916. I thought we'd see a bounce from that. And Friday, it looked like we might even have an inverted head and shoulders, but that wasn't to go on and play out either. So we've come down here and look, we're trying to move up higher, but no good coming out of that right now. And you can see here's that inverted head and shoulders from Friday. And we finally made it above that, but our resistance today on the bias chart, bear with me, is 1920. So we haven't even come up there. So other than that, we're just trading a very, very quiet session ahead of ECB day, with the exception of crude has moved significantly to the point that's above 54.88. So it's opened the door for this market to move higher, potentially to 55.60. We're still scratching a little bit higher, so we may see the market pare back a little bit before then. But other than that, we're just trading a very, very quiet day, and it's going to stay quiet, I believe, until we get to ECB day. We are seeing the SPOOs knock on the door at 3,000, and yields will come back. 10-year yields will come back a little bit. But other than that, that's about it. So, it's obviously going to be a short webinar. We don't really have anything moving. Gold continues to be, pushing with a little bit of a bias on the upside, despite, some breaking of support over the last week and a half that would have, probably, I guess, we've pressured some shorts now. And that with crude moving a little bit higher. And other than that, that's about it. But thanks for joining us here on the FX Daily Roundup, and good luck trading on a quiet day.